On the 30th of August, Malcolm Tilsted along with Roger Stark launched the Harvest for the Hungry project at the Odeon Cinema in Chelmsford, Essex. This is Dennis, a boy that Malcolm Tilsted met while distributing food boxes in Bulgaria. This is the true story of Dennis.
Dennis goes back to the year 1996, and you may remember that Frida was the mayor at that time, and Cobra was the man that actually came and switched on the lights that year. There was also, we couldn't send beef to Europe because there was a crisis of BSE, so we couldn't send beef into Europe. And also there was an oil tanker that broke its back on the Cornish coast. So that was 1996. And there was a crisis looming over in Sofia in Bulgaria. And two big burly policemen came knocking at this door, if you can call it a door, at this house, if you can call it a house. And they went inside and they saw this man and this woman and their family. And the two big burly policemen, they arrested this particular man. Now, I'm not here to judge, and I don't know what he did in terms of he stole food for his family, but whether he hit a policeman or whether he was upsetting the judge or whether he was doing this many, many times, the result was he ended up in prison for 12 months. And the lady and the family were then left to fend for themselves. There's no social security as we have over here in Bulgaria, and she was left to fend for herself. Anyway, a woman's needs are manifold, as they say, and she found another fella. And yes, you may have guessed it, she got herself pregnant. So she knew that if her husband, who was in prison, found out that she was pregnant, he would beat her. In fact, he would kill her. So she did everything she possibly could to get rid of that baby. And she took lots and lots and lots of tablets. Then over the months ahead, she started to hit herself in the stomach. Now ladies, if you just gently, very gently, just tap your stomach, and you imagine thumping your stomach really hard over months and months and months. But by some miracle, this baby was born. He was slightly mentally retarded, but you would be. You've just had 2 attempted murders on your life. But he was born on a cold, cold morning in December. And just to put it in perspective, you take a really cold winter here in Chelmsford, in Essex, and then add another 10 or 20 degrees. It is bitterly cold in December. And this baby was born. And the very next day, there was a tramp walking through the town of Sofia. And he came across this bin. And this tramp was hungry, very thirsty and very cold. And he put his hand in the bin expecting to find a half-eaten McDonald's or a drop of Coke in a can. And he put his hand in the bin, but he didn't find a McDonald's and he didn't find a can of Coke. What he did find was a baby. And he pulled the baby out, and it was this baby that was born just 24 hours previous. Now the baby was close to death, it was very cold, and he was very hungry. But the tramp, he actually put the baby into his coat. He was cold, he was hungry, he was thirsty, but he took the baby to the local hospital, where the baby was then brought back to life. And then the baby then spent the next 8 or 9 years from hospital to orphanage, to orphanage, to orphanage. And then ended up, and here's the baby now, Dennis, in the Berkovica orphanage that you people have sponsored over the years. Now we can't change the politics of Bulgaria, and we can't change the culture of Bulgaria, but what we can do in our own little way is to give people like Dennis a window of time, a window of opportunity. So what are we asking from you guys here today? Do we want thousands and thousands of pounds? No, we don't. What do we want you to do? We want you to go back into your offices, whether you work for the press or radio station, or whether you work for the council, or whether you work for Essex County Council, or whether you work for a store, and do something. Send an email, pick up the phone, send a text, and tell them about the Harvest for the Hungry project. And tell them how you can extend that window of time for people like Dennis. Now that was Dennis, and he's had 3 attempted murders on his life, But we've obviously spoken to Dennis, and we made a film of Dennis, and Dennis is a survivor. Now I don't know what Dennis is going to do in his future, but he is a survivor.